background.
Nice. All right, I guess we're ready. It's 8 o'clock. Welcome to this first Zoom meeting. Hopefully it's the only one, but we'll see how things go in April. First item on the agenda is to call the meeting to order. We've got a quorum, having at least 4 people out there, so we've got a quorum. What I want to do is I want to go down to and do the things that we have to do that are under new business. We got to do not the financial statements, but this one right here, the review and approval of the audited financial statements, and we'll scroll down, or I'll scroll down. You can watch and get down to the financial statements. The audit committee met with the auditor back on March 13th, and we met in person. So we went through the audit and talked to the auditor about. We had an executive session with the auditor, and we determined that it wasn't necessary to have the auditor attend this meeting. And so these are the financial statements that we're going to talk about and hopefully approve today, so that Al can take care of posting it so that we meet the authority budget office deadline. The first page that I'm going to talk about is packet page 17, if you're following along or if you printed it. It's the financial highlights, and the first part is pretty much the same as it's been in prior years. The second part, we made a small change to that, where we talked about the PSEG reimbursements are subject to fluctuation due to market factors, and that's as a result of the fees from PSEG are down significantly in the financial statements for 2019, and this is a suggestion that Dick made. And Al, was there any other change that you were going to make to the financial highlights?
Yes, we had an additional 1-sentence paragraph about the monolith project. That was added into the updated financials that John Cushone sent on Tuesday.
Okay, and so for the people, that was not part of the packet that was submitted by Robin. Okay, and that was subsequent to the submission that we looked at it and said, we need that paragraph. It was something we discussed at the audit committee meeting, and it just didn't get into the one that got to you. And so, Al, could you read to us what it says? Because I haven't seen it.
Yeah, 1 second. It simply says that the company expended $9,474 on legal fees related to the bankruptcy of the monolith solar project. And I think that simply was it.
I'm having a hard time hearing you, Al.
Yeah, likewise.
How's this sound?
That's much better.
That's better.
Okay. The paragraph simply says the agency expended $9,474 on legal fees related to the bankruptcy of the monolith solar project, and that was the extent of it.
Okay, all right.
Did they? I don't know if they went bankrupt.
Yeah, I believe.
Well, why don't we change?
I'm not a lawyer.
Why don't we change?
I believe they.
Go ahead, Al.
Well, I believe they're in bankruptcy right now, but I could be wrong.
Well, why don't you just change it to?
They filed bankruptcy.
Tom, what did you say?
We got no notice of bankruptcy.
Okay, so we got no notice of bankruptcy.
Correct.
So Al, why don't you change it to say all of the information related to the legal fees, blah blah blah, what you said, related to the monolith solar project termination.
Perfect.
Okay. So the MD&A, the rest of the MD&A is pretty much what it's been in the past. No big changes there. This is the summary of what happened in 2019 with regard to our net position, and net position being our quote fund balance at the end of the year was about $465,000. We're going to see that when we get to the actual financial statements. Just a note that the 465 is getting down pretty low to where we're going to perhaps have to do something in our budget for 2021 with regard to expenses if we don't have a project or two in 2020. This is the independent auditor's report on the financial statements. It's an unmodified report. It goes through our responsibility for the financial statements, what the auditor's responsibility is, the fact that they believe they have enough evidence, and this is the opinion. The financial statements present fairly in all material respects. The balance sheet, the income statement, the statement of cash flows, and the notes to the financial statements in conformity with U.S. GAAP, which is an unmodified opinion. There's required supplementary information. The RSI is the MD&A, the comparison of budget to actual, and they're not giving an opinion on that information, as well as the Paris report. They don't give an opinion on that report either, which is the way it's been in the past. They also issued a report based on government auditing standards on our compliance with laws and regulations, and that they did not detect any issues with regard to our compliance with laws and regulations. So it's an unmodified or a clean report on the financial statements. These are the financial statements, the balance sheet. We had about $456,000 in cash. One of the changes is that accounts receivable now says common net, because we have billed Monolith for certain things, the legal fees that we expended and so on and so forth. But we've set up a 100% reserve, in other words, an allowance that that indicates that we don't expect to collect that money. So the $9,850 here is just the money that's due to us from PSEG. There's our fund balance, as I mentioned before, the $465,000. The income statement is, we didn't have any projects in 2019, so there are no project closing fees. The administrative fees that we collected from the project, $19,000. The supplemental fees, which is the PSEG money, we got about $49,000. And that's why, because it went down from 87 down to 49, that's why we have that little note up in the MD&A, so the reader of the financial statements can understand why there's that significant difference. Our contractual expenses are up over the previous year, but one of the things that you should take into consideration is that in 2018, we only paid $50,000 to the town for economic development and other services. In 2019, we paid the full $80,000. We also have some additional legal fees, as we mentioned before, so that's why the contractual expenses are up over the prior year. Our operating loss was about $103,000. We got a few dollars in interest income, which should change in 2020 just because we've got the CDs now, but it's not going to change that much. The change in net position, which is our profit and loss for the year, we lost about $103,000 compared to $140,000 the year before. The statement of cash flows just basically tells the reader where did the cash come from. It came from providing services, and then it breaks it down into two different categories. We paid $59,000 for personal services and benefits, and then the contractual expenses were the $111,000. The change in cash was about $100,000, and that's how we get down to $456,000 at the end of the year. The bottom part of this is just a reconciliation of the operating section to the changes in the balance sheet. The notes to the financial statements haven't really changed very much. The only part that changed is in here at December 2019, management determined that we needed an allowance. There was a $2,500 for legal services. I'm sorry, it was fees that we charged Monolith that they haven't paid us and we don't expect to collect, and the legal services of about $9,400. We've set up an allowance for that. There was no allowance in the previous year because we didn't feel we needed one. The rest of the notes really haven't changed at all since the prior year. And that gets us through the bulk of the financial statements. Supplemental information. This is just a comparison of budget to actual. When we set up our budget for 2019, we had budgeted fees of $128,000. The actual fees that we took in were only $68,000, and we know why that is, because we didn't have a closing. Our budget for salaries, other employee benefits, professional service contracts, and admin expenses. This is the budget. These are the actual amounts. They were different by about $4,000 some odd dollars. This reconciles back to our net loss for the year. This is just a schedule of conduit indebtedness. It's not our debt, it's just the pass-through debt for the projects that we have currently. This is the auditor's report on internal control over financial reporting and compliance and other matters. This is where they write a report. It's not an opinion, where the opinion on the financial statements is an opinion. This is just a report that basically says, we looked at your system of internal control as part of planning the audit. We didn't come up with any issues whatsoever that we think need to be addressed by those charged with governance. So there are no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies in internal control. The compliance and other matters, again, it's not an opinion, it's a situation where as part of their audit, they looked at compliance and compliance with laws and regulations, and there was nothing there that they felt needed to be reported for those charged with governance to do anything about. This is what we would call the SAS 114 letter. A statement on auditing standards 114 requires that the auditor write us a letter, basically, and tell us if there were any significant audit findings. They looked at our accounting practices and they don't have any issues with those. There were no difficulties encountered in performing the audit. There were no uncorrected or corrected, or there were no misstatements that they found as part of their audit that needed to be corrected to change our financial statements, the ones that we look at, to what's going on in these financial statements where they're giving an opinion. So that basically says that Al is doing a very good job. There were no disagreements with management. Sometimes there are disagreements with regard to how to treat a certain transaction. They didn't have any disagreements. They agree that the way we have accounted for things is appropriate. They requested in writing management representations, and they got a management representation letter, which will allow them to issue their opinion. We didn't consult with other independent accountants about anything during the year. If we had consulted, they would have to talk to those other accountants and understand what those consultations were all about. There were no other issues that they had to report to us. This part is the investment guidelines. As part of their responsibility, the auditor's responsibility, and part of our responsibility is there are certain investment guidelines that we have to follow as a public authority. They have to audit that, but they changed the word because it's really an attestation as opposed to an audit of financial statements, and so it talks about examining our compliance with the requirements with regard to the investment guidelines. They perform the examination. And they're not giving a legal determination, but they're saying, in their opinion, we complied in all material respects with the requirements for investment guidelines for January 19 through December 31st, 2019. This again is this is an unqualified report, if you will, on our compliance with investment guidelines. And that takes us through the financial statements. Any questions, comments, any other things that perhaps, Dick, you want to bring up?
No, I'm fine. Thank you. You did a great job.
No, thanks. So I need a motion to accept the financial statements with the modification that we mentioned to the MD&A for 2019.
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay. Go.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay. The next part of this is our assessment, the audit committee's assessment of the internal control over financial reporting. And we have to do this every year. It's got to be posted to the ABO or to our website to meet the ABO requirements. And we have a system of internal control over financial reporting. We reviewed that. We reviewed it with the auditor. And since the auditor didn't come up with any findings, any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses, we went through all of it during the audit committee meeting back on March 13th. We believe that, and basic management, as I'm in this section right here, management assessed the effectiveness of the agency's internal control, and we believe that the internal control over financial reporting was effective as of December 31st, 2019. Dick, do you have any comments on that?
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
Good job again.
Okay. So what I need is a resolution to approve the 2019 assessment of internal control.
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Next is the Paris report. We went through the Paris report at the audit committee meeting on March 13th. We asked Al a lot of questions about different things going on in the report. I don't remember there being much in the way of any changes to the report except for the last page. I'm not going to go through the report in detail. I'm trusting that people have reviewed the report, and if they do have any questions, they can ask them now.
I guess I have just one quick question, and right there on that page that you're on now,
Yep.
where we list Tom and Al as staff, but we don't list Rob and Liz. And on the previous page, I think we say that the authority, we have no authority staff that are employed by other government agencies. But why do we consider Al and Tom's staff, but not Rob and Liz?
Well, I think we have a contract with, or an engagement letter with Al and his firm, and I think we have an employer-employee relationship specifically with Tom Conley. I don't think we have the same relationship with Rob and Liz.
So the service agreement that we have with the town, that's not the same as sort of an employment contract with Al and Tom?
I wouldn't think so.
Okay.
I don't know. I would defer to either Joe or Tom.
I mean, we list Al as a staff, but we also have further back in the report, we do list them as, under contractual arrangements, we do list the contract with Al and we do list the service agreement. So I was just a little confused as to why we're making a differentiation here. That's all.
That's the way they want it reported.
Okay,
Because I'm not an employee, I have to be listed in the procurement report.
right.
But because I'm also an officer, treasurer and chief contracting officer, I have to be shown here.
As
So this
staff.
was, Stan, this was a lot of back and forth with the folks down at the controller's office in the ABO.
Okay,
So are we comfortable with it on page 7? Okay. Any other questions and observations? So let's go to the last page. Hang on. Don't get dizzy. So this is the last page. So when we were in the audit committee meeting, Dick suggested that there be a comment here where it says additional comments. And hang on just a minute, and I'll show you what we're going to put in there. So in this page, the comment page, we're going to put a comment in there that says, in 2019, the agency terminated the Monolith Solar Project and sent the company a demand letter for recapture of the tax benefits that were utilized under the agreement. Okay, so we're going to make that modification to that page of the Paris report.
And by way of reference, we can't show that in the unsubmitted version because you actually have to get to the point where you're ready to submit. Then you add the comments. It's unique.
Okay. So with that, that's the Paris report. So I need a resolution to accept the Paris report as modified with the additional comments on page 31.
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. So we're moving on to, let's see, this is the performance measures for 2019. Again, this is a requirement that we have to post to our website, a requirement of the ABO, and it goes through and talks about, and I don't know, Tom Conley, if you want to talk about anything in here.
Just to make sure you can hear me. Can you hear me?
It breaks up a little bit.
Oh, okay. This is very similar to prior years. The statistics that are, I think, are significant are that we have helped our incentives have helped retain 156 jobs and have created 268 jobs for a total of 424 jobs. And our incentives have helped to create investments of 460 million. I think those are the sort of significant data points for the performance of the IDEA.
And just so you know, we determine what those performance measures are to put in this report. And we've worked on this over the years and come up with this as our report. Any questions for Tom? So can I get a motion to approve the 2019 performance measures report?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. So this is our investment report. And again, another requirement by the ABO that we post this to our website. And it's pretty much plain vanilla, where we've got at the end of the year $256,000 at M&T Bank, and this $200,000 represents a CD at the end of the year. And if you add the two together, that totals up our total cash at the end of 2019. It also talks about fees paid to brokers and so on and so forth. It talks about the results of the independent audit. It, one more time, tells us about the investments and the different rates and so on and so forth. So I need a motion to approve the annual investment report for 2019.
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. The procurement report. This basically tells what purchases we made during the year. It talks about the contract with the town of Bethlehem, the contract with Al Michaels, and the work that we get done by Hudson Ross. So can I get a motion to approve this report?
I've got a question.
Yep,
How come we don't have Cusack on there?
don't know.
They're under the threshold, $5,000 reporting threshold.
Good job then.
Set by- They're worth more, but don't quote me.
You're on tape. No. Okay.
All right, so can I get a motion to approve the 2019 procurement report?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, real property. Well, this one's easy. We don't own any real property. Can I get a motion to approve the real property owned report for 2019?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. The 2020 Administrative Services Contract. We needed to approve this, and it hasn't changed. It's the same contract, the agreement with the town to provide a variety of different services, the help that we get from Robin for our meetings, our minutes, and so on and so forth, the assistance from Rob, the assistance from Liz, all of those are covered by this contract. And so one of the things, and again, we approve this, okay, for 2020, a fee not to exceed $50,000 for 2020, given our budget situation for 2020. Any questions, comments, or other comments about this? So I need a motion to approve the 2020 Administrative Services Contract.
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, so that gets us through all of that stuff on the agenda. Is there, well, let me ask you this, since this is going along pretty well, and I didn't do anything with the minutes up here, have people had a chance to review the minutes, or do you want to defer that to our next meeting?
I read them.
I read them.
I did also.
Okay, so let's go through this and approve the minutes. So there's minutes out there from the special meeting that we had on February 26th. Can I get a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Let's go to the annual meeting on February 28th. Can I get a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? And the regular meeting on February 28th. Can I get a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Can I get a
Second.
second? I got a second. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? I'll just report on the draft minutes of the audit committee. There's just a modification that we need to make to those minutes because it looks like the executive session, it looks like we had 2 executive sessions. This one here is the one that we actually had on March 13th. This one here, which is there by mistake, it's just we got to edit it out. Again, that doesn't belong there. That was from the previous meeting. We're not approving those minutes. The audit committee has to meet and approve those minutes, but I just wanted to point that out. All right, so any new business other than what we just covered? Okay. Liz, do you want to say anything?
Yeah, I think everyone knows today is my last day with the town. So I really just want to say thank you very much for the opportunity that the IDA provided me to work for the town and work with all of you for the past 6 years. I am very proud of the work that we're able to accomplish, and I just want to say thank you very much for the opportunity. I will miss working at the town, but I will be around. So best of luck to everyone in the future, and I thank you again. It was really fun, and I had a great time.
And we want to thank you too, or I want to personally thank you, Liz, for the work that you've done. You've been wonderful to work with. Just come up with good ideas, really just did a lot of good stuff for the town and for the IDA. So I really appreciate all the work that you've done, and I wish you the best of luck. Hopefully you get to work.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Liz.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's been my pleasure to work with you, Liz.
Mine as well, Rob. Dick, sorry. I'm trying to follow along who's speaking, but it really has been, it's been a really good 6 years. So thank you very much.
All right, so that gets us through the agenda. Just as a point of reference, our next meeting is scheduled for April 24th. Who knows what we'll be doing, but if we can't get together personally at the town hall, we'll do it through Zoom again. And Tom, we'll do the audit committee meeting after the meeting on April 24th, okay? Because we were going to have one today, but I didn't think we would have it today. Is that okay?
We're going to have a governance committee meeting after the April 24 meeting.
Okay, well, we'll figure it out between now and then.
Okay.
All right. Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much, everybody, for going through this, and I think it went pretty well.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank
No,
you.
very, very smooth.
Went great. Good job, everybody.
Yeah. Take care.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Be well.